new crew. If you're new, my name's Cassandra. Welcome back to our channel. Today we're doing a couple small kitchen projects. I have everything laid out in front of me. I took time to make sure that I had everything pulled out, which is very unusual for me, so I feel really on top of it today. But I have about an hour or so, hour and a half before my big kids get off the bus from school. I figured I would bring you guys with me to prep a really fun after school snack, and I do not take credit for this. My sister-in-law sent me something on Instagram through an Instagram reel. I will put the handle of said person here, and if I can remember, link their account down below. But they made this really fun apple crock pot kind of dip, kind of like a fondue bar for their kids, and I thought that was perfect. We have a bunch of really nice apples from my in-laws apple tree, so I want to do that. So I have that stuff laid out in front of me. We're also going to be making a homemade taco seasoning and a homemade meatloaf seasoning, so we don't have to keep buying those packets because they are not the best for you. So we're gonna do that. I have a hot cup of coffee and we're just gonna hang out. 1 second to prep my crock pot. All I have in here is a little bit of water and 4 half-pint jam jars here. You can put bigger jars, whatever you want. I've never done this before. We're gonna see how this goes. If you watched my Aldi haul, we talked about how I wanted to do this in that haul. So I got 1 of each kind of flavor of baking chips that they had. And I'm gonna fill our jar. We're gonna create a double boiler. And it's gonna melt down these chocolates, and it's going to keep them warm so that when the kids get off the bus, they can dip whatever they do so choose in here. I have some grapes in the fridge. I have lots of apples like we talked about. So this should be pretty fun for them. I wish I had pretzels. I do have some pretzels. But this will be really fun just because it is going to keep these warm. So once I turn it on, I kind of can just leave it and move on to other things, and it'll be really nice. And this is my personal favorite. It's the dark chocolate. And whatever I have left over after the kids are done dipping and whatnot, I'll probably just put rings and lids on these, put them in the fridge, and I can always reheat these either back in this or in the microwave, and we can keep dipping kind of as we want. I'm just gonna go ahead and move this, turn this on. I'm gonna put this high for 4 hours just because I'm trying to get these melted rather quickly. But this would also be really fun for like a barbecue or a hangout, maybe even Christmas time for the kids or for anybody. Really just have a really nice fun fondue bar. So I'm gonna move this over the side. I want to get our mixes mixed up and in jars first, just because I don't want the apples turning brown or doing anything funny while we are kind of waiting for the kids to get off the bus. So decided we are going to be repurposing some of these old jars. I tend to keep almost any jar that I ever purchase, just because you can see behind me here all of our dried spices and stuff. Some of them are in mason jars, some of them are in old pickle jars. I just love using these, so I tend to keep them. They're great for ferments or just quick pickles, putting in the fridge or something. So this is what we're gonna use today. I've never made these spices before, so we're gonna see how my family responds to them, how they like them. The other one that I would somewhat like to try is a chili packet, but I am really nostalgic, or I have a really nostalgic tie to just the packet of chili powder. So I don't know if I'm gonna end up switching over completely, but I would like to give that one a try. But this is what we're doing today. This recipe is, I will link it down below, but it is a McCormick's meatloaf kind of copycat recipe. So that's what I am going to be trying. And just by luck, I end up keeping a lot of these spices on hand that I need for these. So I think I'm just going to start off by what the recipe actually says, and I will take it from there on if I want to double, triple, do anything. You know what? I changed my mind before I could even finish that thought. I think we're just gonna go ahead and double it right away. I am just gonna go ahead and quadruple this. That way I have it when I need it. We do go through quite a decent amount of meatloaf in the winter, so I'm just gonna make a big batch of this, and hopefully I won't end up regretting that. So this is 2 teaspoons of paprika, but we're gonna do 8. We're also gonna go in with some dried thyme. I do have thyme that I grew and we dried, but I have that up on the stove. I'm just gonna save that for another day just because this is quite a bit of thyme we have here. And this is older than what I have from the permaculture orchard. So I would like to go through this first. Okay, now we're gonna go in with our basil. Once again, I do have some of this from that we grew, but this is older and I wanna go through this first. And onion powder, and because I'm quadrupling this, I'm gonna put in 4 teaspoons of each. I did buy a brand new thing of garlic powder just because I didn't know exactly how much I was going to need between doing these new mixes. So I'm going to use up my older one first because it's, I don't know if you can see in there, it's starting to clump and it's just been hard to get out of the bottle. So I would like to get rid of that first. And I'm slowly switching over to buying most of my spices, if I don't do them myself, from Sam's. I do like convenience-wise getting them from Aldi because sometimes I just forget. And I'm still very new to Sam's Club, so I don't always know exactly what they have. So it's still kind of trial and error for me there, but there we go. Look how pretty that is. We're just gonna mix it up. And I will put this probably up in my pantry. It'll be there for when I want to make some meatloaf. So maybe we'll make some meatloaf coming up here with some of our potatoes from the raised beds, and we can taste test this and see how I like it. So that is the meatloaf mix. Now we are going to move on to our taco seasoning. So I know I was just talking to you about chili powder, but I completely forgot that the last couple of years I've been using the Mrs. Wages chili seasoning base, and I've been using that to can up with some of my homegrown tomatoes, and I've really liked that. I completely forgot about it, but I do still use the chili mix, like the seasoning packets, when I do Spanish rice or something like that. So I just wanted to clear that up because I'm sure I would get comments on it, because a lot of you guys were very excited when we were talking about the chili base. And it still is one of my favorite things, but sometimes I do still put in like a little bit of a chili packet. But that honestly might just be out of force of habit than absolutely anything else. I am just going to go ahead and double the taco seasoning recipe, and we are actually going to be using some of this tonight for dinner, I think. So I might take you guys along with me and show you guys how, or what I'm gonna do for dinner. I'm gonna take some of our homegrown potatoes over there, and we are gonna make a cheesy, beefy burrito. So I might take you guys along with me and we'll use some of this taco seasoning. We'll be able to see how we like it. Calling for is cayenne pepper. I actually don't have any cayenne pepper. I grew cayenne peppers, but I have yet to dry them and grind them down to make ground cayenne pepper. So for now, we're gonna do this without the cayenne pepper. If I feel that it needs a little heat, I will hit it with some of our homemade hot sauce. I always have a bottle of that in the fridge, or a jar of that in the fridge. I'll throw that in if I need it. So we will see, but so far it smells very good. And I'm very excited to give this a try. So I'm going to clean up our mess here, check on our chocolates, see if they need to be stirred a little bit. They've been in for a little over 10 minutes, so we're just gonna check on those, and we will maybe come together and start doing a little bit of prep work for. There is a little bit of a play on like a cheesy burrito that you'd get from Taco Bell. It's really simple and really easy, and it's actually a really good freezer meal if you wanted to make these in bulk and get them in the freezer. They're great for the ride to work. You can heat them up in the microwave, you can heat them up in your air fryer, in the oven, or just really quickly throw them in a pan, throw them in the oven. They're a quick dinner. If you wanted to, you could top them with enchilada sauce and cheese and very easily turn them into enchiladas. Really, whatever. That's why I love this meal so much. We prefer to keep them very basic. I have this ginormous potato from the raised beds, and we're gonna chop this up, get it in a pan with just some ground beef. I am going to throw in a little bit of salsa because I canned salsa recently and I had 2 jars that did not seal on me. So I kind of want to get that going in there. You could also make a Mexican style rice instead of potato, or just take out the starches completely. But I like to, you can do it in your Instant Pot or you can do it on the stove. A little bit of chicken stock, a little bit of salsa of your choice. I use my home canned salsa. I've used store-bought salsa. Both work. You could do a green salsa if you wanted to as well. Options are limitless. Obviously, based on the spice level of your salsa is going to determine the spice level of your rice. So you can throw that in your chicken stock, a couple tablespoons of salsa or a lot of salsa depending on how you like it. Go ahead and cook your rice right in that mixture and it comes out this really delicious, easy Mexican style rice. Love to do it in the Instant Pot because it takes like 5 minutes, so it's really quick and really easy. You can use that as a side, or you can take that Mexican rice and stuff it in your burrito and roll it up with your meat, and it's really great. Also, you can make this meal with leftover chicken, leftover beef, leftover pork. Options are limitless in this. So whatever you have in your fridge, take it, cut it up, dice it up, roll it in a tortilla. It's gonna be delicious. So we are going to start by chopping up this potato and we will meet back up in a second. I went ahead and just got a little bowl with cool water and I threw a little bit of lemon juice in there. That is just gonna help keep our apples from browning a ton. These are fresh apples, though no preservatives, nothing like that, that are sprayed on these. So that and the variety of the apple can lead them to have a higher tendency of browning. So they did get a little brown, but a-okay. I just knew that I was going to be a little bit before the kids got home, so I wanted to keep them as fresh as possible. Once I got the apples chopped up, I also remembered I had this pineapple that really needed to be used, and I thought this was a perfect application for that, so I also chopped up the pineapple. We were able to dunk that in our chocolate as well. And then I also kind of got to thinking and remembered I had a bag of grapes that was kind of on its last leg, and I thought this would also be a perfect application to use up those grapes. So I was picking out the ones that were too far gone. Those would go to the chickens, and our little fondue pot was prepped and ready for the kids for when they got home. I went ahead and took that potato that we chopped up, put it in a frying pan with a little bit of olive oil, threw in about pint or so, half a pint of home canned salsa. Once that had time to soften the potatoes a little bit, I threw in 2 pounds of ground beef and some of our homemade taco seasoning here. Let that cooked down and just wait really for the potatoes to become cooked. Kids absolutely love this, and I gotta tell you, I really did too. I think this became a really fun core memory that they are going to remember for a long time. Just by the way they reacted as a parent, you can kind of tell that sometimes. And this was one of those times. It was very simple and very easy, and it's something that I loved, they loved. I think I'm gonna make this something that I do more often. I think this would also be really fun if you had things that you could roll your dipped apples in, like crushed nuts or like mini chocolate chips or M&Ms or something like that. You could add to the fun factor. It would also be really cool, perhaps, if you wanted to do pretzels or strawberries. I've even liked this so much that I think around the holidays, the kids and I always do dipped pretzels, and we'll make like homemade truffle balls or homemade Reese's Pieces balls. And we're always dipping them. I think when the time comes to do that, I'm gonna put melt all of the chocolate in the crock pot like I did today, and then we can dip them right into the crock pot. We always have issues with the chocolate starting to seize up on us as it gets cold, and I think this would be a problem solver for that. So I think that this is also something you could do around the holidays when you're baking cookies and things. So there's my kind of thought process on that. When it comes to rolling our burritos, it's really easy. You can see some I have rolled as burritos. That was my typical plan for this. However, I didn't pull out my large tortillas that are all in the freezer. Not that big of a deal. I could have pulled them out and just thawed them out in my microwave, which I've done a million times. But I had all these small tortillas anyways, and they needed to be used up. These will fit really great in lunch boxes. And I just decided we were going to make a really big batch. Like I said, it was a big potato. We caught up 2 pounds of ground beef. So it's going to make a lot. This is still too much for my family of 6. So you're going to see in a later video that we end up taking all of these leftovers and putting them in the freezer just as is, and it works really well. I like to spray mine with a little bit of olive oil spray and then pop them in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes or so till they get kind of golden. The Tahoe closest starts to end up on the bridge.